I 31M and my girlfriend is 28. Her and I have been together for 6 years and have been living together for the last two. Going to attempt to keep this short, so please ask for details if I leave something out. GF has always enjoyed doing comedy and has done open mic nights since we've met shortly after college. She had a real sales job, though that was her Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job where she made decent money. I have a good but hard job and make almost triple what my GF was making when she had her job. I said had because last August she quit her job because it was taking away from her comedy ventures. She told me a year from now she thinks she can really make it. I was a bit skeptical, but since I make enough to support us, I encouraged her because I want to be a supportive boyfriend. Since she quit her job, she began doing Uber and DoorDash, which is where she makes 100% of her money. Her comedy has gotten us $0. Over the past few months, I have started to resent her though. She constantly complains she has no money, yet drives for Uber or DD maybe 3 times a week for maybe 4 hours at a time. I have been paying a lot more for household expenses, and I'm not saving as much as I'd like to anymore. She sleeps till noon because sometimes her open mics run real late before she even gets to perform. And when she gets up, she just bums around on TikTok and YouTube looking for inspiration. She also gets very moody with me if I don't come to 90% of her open mic performances. Even after working a 14-hour day, she will get mad if I don't go to her open mic at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Last night, I did the unthinkable. I asked her to consider going back to a full-time job. I said she should still do her comedy, but I'm struggling with taking care of our expenses all by myself. When she gave a dismissive answer, I told her firmly that she will never be a famous comedian. I said she's 28 and it's time to grow the fuck up and join the real world because this is totally unfair to me that I bust my ass while she lives in La La Land. And that she can't be this naive at this age by thinking she's going to support herself with this. She stared at me in silence for a few minutes, started crying, and went to stay with a friend. She called me a ducking duckhead asshole and I'm the worst friend ever. She has not answered her phone today yet.
Comment 1. NTA. The reality is people are flawed. You are frustrated taking care of a grown-ass adult who is content freeloading off you while she sleeps till noon and barely works part-time. So your anger boiled over and you said some harsh things. If she wants to be a comedian, she can work a full-time job and make her dream a side gig. Just like she would have to do, she had to pay her own big girl bills. It's been almost a year. Time to grow up, pay them bills. For me, it's not even an ultimatum. My partner would have to get a job that pays bills and half the rent, or we would be done. Comment 2. NTA. She had a vague plan of being able to live off of her art after giving it a full-time go for a year. That year is almost over and she's not making any money from it. It also sounds like she's not really doing as much as she could on this if she's got a lot of time to play on her phone, etc. She is bringing in some money in the gig economy, but 12 hours a week of probably minimum wage is obviously nothing in comparison to a very time-consuming, hard, and well-paying job. You agreed to support her for a year. That year is almost over. Time for her to get a job again, one where she brings in a good amount so that she's not just living off of your earnings. Comment 3. I mean, do you even want to be in a relationship with her anymore? You didn't say anything nice about her and the tirade you went on at the end was pretty nasty. Also, you said you encouraged her to do this. Did you not have this conversation at the time about what her contribution would look like going forward and how long she would give it? It seems like you never communicated that and it's just ended with you blowing up. My wife, 29F, and I, 31M, bought our first house this past winter. The house is in decent shape, but the yard needed a lot of work. We spent the winter planning what we wanted to do with the yard in terms of landscaping. My wife has always wanted a garden, but I have a severe bee/wasp allergy and I did not want to plant a bunch of stuff that would attract those insects to our yard. She kept begging me to let her build a garden and told me that there are going to be insects in our yard anyway. I carry an EpiPen with me pretty much all the time when I'm outside, but I would prefer not to have a deadly threat in my yard at all times. I went out of town for work for a week about 6 weeks ago. When I got back, I saw that my wife had done a lot of work in the yard. She had bought a few raised planting beds and started a little vegetable garden. She had also dug up a couple areas on both sides of our driveway and planted a bunch of native plants and flowers as pollinator gardens. I'll admit, my first reaction probably wasn't the best. It was something along the lines of "WTF are you thinking?" We got into a pretty big fight about it because she kept downplaying how much of a problem it would be for me. She kept saying things like they won't sting you unless you bother them. They are going to be in our yard anyway. Native pollinator plants are important. You have an EpiPen anyway. Now, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with any of those statements. But to me, she is inviting deadly threats into our yard. And to make it worse, she is telling me it's not a big deal. I told her that if she wants to keep all of that stuff in our yard, she just signed up for doing all the yard work by herself because I am not going to put myself at risk just so that she can grow a few zucchinis. I am not going to mow the lawn or pull weeds if it means I might get stung. She told me I am overreacting, but since she wants to keep everything she planted, she begrudgingly agreed to do all the yard work. Well, now that summer is in full swing, she doesn't like that arrangement. She complains that it's too hot and the yard work would go a lot faster if both of us were doing it. She complains that the grass grows too fast and doesn't like having to spend time every weekend mowing. But then she will also post videos on social media about all the bees that her pollinator garden is attracting. This past weekend she told me she was too tired to mow and asked me to do it. I told her that we already agreed she would do all the yard work since she wanted to keep her gardens. She again told me I am overreacting and that I need to help. I told her that I am not putting myself at risk when we both know there are more bees in our yard now because of her gardens. I have taken on a lot more of the household chores to compensate for her doing the yard work, so it's not like I'm slacking off. She refuses to see things from my POV. Comment 1. NTA. To begin with, it sounds like you and your wife were still in the planning stages when she went behind your back and planted her preferred garden. Second, she is being really dismissive of a deadly allergy. An EpiPen isn't a cure-all for your problem. You still need to go to the emergency room if you are stung, and there can be lingering effects for days afterward. By inviting bees into your yard, she's really increasing your chance of being stung. It's great that your wife is concerned about pollinators, but it would be nice if she was concerned about her husband too. Comment 2. NTA. On some level, I can agree with your wife. In many years of gardening and even having raised bees, I've never been stung except the one time a bee got in my glove after I did some hive work. You're probably at more risk driving to work than you are in a garden. But, you don't duck with anaphylaxis, especially not someone else's anaphylaxis. The odds are low, but if it does happen, it's so dangerous. Not to mention anxiety and fear you may feel. Your solution of her doing the yard work is eminently reasonable. If she finds it too much work, there are ways of reducing it if she wants. There are low-maintenance gardens and lawn solutions that take less mowing. Or she can just put in the work because this is her hobby and her choice. Comment 3. NTA. Can you even relax outdoors when tolerable? If petty, I would tell her you're changing your life insurance so she's not the beneficiary. But that may be too far lol. I'm a 23-year-old female, and I'm not sure if I'm the asshole in this situation. So, here it goes. My sister, Anna, 27F, has always been the golden child. She's smart, beautiful, and now engaged to a wonderful guy named Mike, 29M. Mike is the kind of guy who makes everyone feel special, and I thought he was the best thing that ever happened to Anna. I couldn't be happier for her. Until recently. 3 years ago, I started my dream job as a graphic designer at a prestigious company. It wasn't easy to get in, and I had to work my ass off to prove myself. Fast forward to a few months ago, our company started a big project, and I was chosen as the lead designer. This was my big break. One evening, Mike dropped by my apartment to discuss something important. I assumed it was about the wedding, but I was wrong. He told me he had a business proposal. Mike had recently started his own tech company and needed a creative mind like mine. He offered me a position as the head of design with a significant pay raise and promised equity in the company. It was tempting, but I politely declined. I loved my job, and I didn't want to mix family with business. Here's where things get messy. Mike didn't take my rejection well. He became pushy, trying to persuade me by any means necessary. I stood my ground, thinking it was over. But then, weird things started happening at work. Rumors about me slacking off and missing deadlines spread like wildfire. My boss, who had always trusted me, started questioning my work ethic. Projects were reassigned, and my reputation took a hit. Last week, I was called into a meeting with HR and my boss. They had evidence of me leaking confidential information to a competitor. I was in shock and denied everything. They showed me emails sent from my work account, which I had never sent. I was suspended pending further investigation. Devastated, I went to Anna's place to seek comfort. As I was explaining everything to her, Mike walked in. He looked guilty, and it hit me. I confronted him, demanding to know if he had anything to do with this. After a tense standoff, he admitted to hacking into my email and sending those emails to sabotage me. He thought if I had no job, I'd be forced to join his company. Anna was horrified and broke off the engagement on the spot. Now, my family is divided. My parents are furious with Mike but are also blaming me for provoking him by rejecting his offer. They think I should have just accepted the job to keep the peace. Anna is supportive, but she's devastated. My friends are telling me to take legal action, but I'm scared of the repercussions. Comment 1. I am calling fake. So this guy was able to somehow get into her emails and fake that she was leaking confidential information? What was so special about her that he needed her to work with him to where he would do this? More importantly, what family is divided over this? Who would think she should have taken the job to keep the peace? I don't know anyone in my family who wouldn't be furious with this guy. Also, how low is your self-esteem that you are wondering if you are the R? This whole story is completely stupid. Comment 2. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks this is fictional. Most graphic designers at prestigious companies have college degrees. I don't know about anyone else's work emails, but we have two-party verification for signing onto email just so no one hacks our accounts. And if wannabe Bill ruined her reputation, what would be the point of hiring her? Rumors about missing deadlines don't matter when people actually make deadlines. And slacking off isn't believable when people produce the work. This is not how rumors actually work. Finally, how would Bill know the confidential information she supposedly leaked to a competitor? How would he know what to put in an email? Too many questions for me to take this one at face value. I, 28F, and my husband, 32M, have 3 beautiful boys together aged 8, 7, and 4. Almost every evening we sit together at the table as a family and enjoy dinner. We have a strict rule that if you don't finish your plate, you don't get a snack later or dessert. If our kids are full before their plate is gone, we let them leave the table but save their plate in case they ask for a snack later. This really hasn't been an issue until recently, and specifically tonight, where my husband and I got into a fight in front of the kids, disagreeing if they could have a snack or not after dinner. For background purposes, financially I would say we are equal when it comes to income. My husband makes twice as much as me and pays all of the bills except the mortgage. I pay the mortgage, our youngest's daycare, and I buy our groceries and any household necessities. We don't fight about finances. Recently my husband has been not allowing the kids to have a snack after dinner even if they finish their plate. I've been arguing back, saying they finished, they're allowed a snack. Tonight our 7-year-old asked for a snack after dinner and my husband flipped, saying don't ask again, you're not having any more food tonight. I told him he was being unreasonable and snuck my 7-year-old down to have a clementine and a banana. My husband thinks I'm the asshole for undermining his decision that the kids won't have snacks, but I think he's being unreasonable, and if we have the means to feed our kids dinner and snacks after, why wouldn't we? Comment 1. Your and your husband's behavior toward food is weird as hell. ESH. What you're doing is forcing your kids to eat, perhaps past the point of satiety, if they want, IDK, ice cream. And everyone wants ice cream. The keeping the leftovers in the fridge in case the offending child is hungry later is just beyond. What do you say? Okay, you 2 kids finished your meal, so for a snack you get 2 pieces of candy. You, 3rd child, didn't finish your meal, so you get cold broccoli. Keep on this way if you want to give your kids an eating disorder. Comment 2. Wow. YTA, as well had your husband, for making dinner and food a battleground. Nothing good is going to come from you and your husband's mentality about food when it comes to your children. It's unhealthy.